My husband and his mother thought they could name my daughter after his ex-fiancée while I was bleeding out in the ICU. They said it was to help me. So I helped myself by removing his name entirely from the birth certificate. The first thing I remember is the beeping. A steady, rhythmic pulse that was both annoying and, in a strange way, reassuring. It was the sound of being alive. My eyelids felt like they were glued shut, and my throat was a desert. A dull, throbbing pain radiated from my abdomen. I was in the ICU. The last thing I remembered was a flurry of panicked faces, the cold rush of an operating room, and a voice saying I was bleeding out. "My baby," I rasped, the words scratching their way out. "Is my baby girl okay?" My husband, Matteo, materialized at my bedside. His face was a strange cocktail of relief and a nervous energy I couldn't quite place. He looked like a kid who'd broken a vase and was hoping no one would notice. "She's perfect, Elara." "Absolutely perfect," he said, taking my hand. His felt clammy. "She's a fighter, just like her mom." He told me she was healthy, that everything was fine now, but he wouldn't meet my eyes. He kept looking towards the door, at the monitors, anywhere but at me. A tiny, cold seed of doubt planted itself in my heart, right next to the overwhelming relief. Something was wrong. Lying there, drifting in and out of a medicated haze, my mind replayed the highlight reel of my marriage, or as I now call it, my own private museum of pain. The central exhibit, of course, was the ghost of Clara. His ex-fiancée. I remember one Sunday dinner, just a few months after we were married. His mother, Dolores, had pulled out an old photo album. With a theatrical sigh, she'd opened it to a picture of Matteo and a smiling blonde. "You two just looked so right together," Dolores had said, her voice dripping with saccharine nostalgia. "Clara made the most wonderful paella. A real homemaker." Matteo had just offered a weak laugh and changed the subject, leaving me to sit there, feeling like an unwanted sequel to a movie everyone preferred. He never defended me. He just managed the situation, as if my feelings were an inconvenience to be smoothed over. Then came the pregnancy. It wasn't a glowing, beautiful experience. It was 9 months of hell. I was hospitalized twice for hyperemesis, severe dehydration from non-stop vomiting. Matteo was, on the surface, a doting husband. He brought me crackers and rubbed my back. But every kind gesture was followed by a phone call to his mother. "Yes, Mom, she's feeling a little better." "No, she hasn't tried ginger tea yet, I'll tell her." Dolores would then call me, her voice a mix of feigned concern and judgment. "You know, when Clara was pregnant, she was playing tennis until her 7th month. Some women are just built differently, I suppose." The implication was always clear: I was not built right. I was a disappointment. The only pure, untainted memory I had was the night we chose her name. We were curled up on the couch, a list spread between us. We argued playfully over a few before landing on 3 perfect choices: Noah, Alba, and Iria. "I love Alba," I'd whispered, tracing the letters on the page. Matteo had kissed my forehead. "Me too. It's beautiful." We were a team in that moment. A family. It was a precious, fragile memory. A memory that was about to be shattered into a million pieces. A day later, they moved me to the regular maternity ward. The fog in my head was starting to clear, replaced by an ache for my daughter. A nurse, a kind-faced woman whose name tag read Vega, finally wheeled her in. My heart swelled. She was so tiny, so perfect, with a little tuft of dark hair just like mine. I reached for her, my eyes blurry with tears of joy. And then I saw it. Taped to the side of the clear plastic bassinet was a small, white card with her name typed in stark black letters. It didn't say Noah. It didn't say Iria. It didn't say Alba. It said, Clara. The air left my lungs. The room started to spin, the cheerful beeping from the hallway turning into a deafening roar in my ears. This had to be a mistake. A sick, twisted joke. There's been a mistake, I stammered, pointing a trembling finger at the card. Nurse Vega's kind face filled with pity. She spoke softly, but her words were like hammer blows. The baby's father signed the birth certificate this morning, honey. He said you were recovering and, the grandmother was there. She helped him with the paperwork. Just then, Mateo walked in, holding a celebratory cup of coffee from Starbucks, a stupid grin on his face. The grin faltered when he saw my expression. What did you do? My voice was a raw whisper. He had the decency to look ashamed, shuffling his feet like a schoolboy. Look, Alara, you were so sick. I was scared. The nurses needed a name for the paperwork, and I panicked. You panicked. Mom was there, he mumbled, as if that explained everything. She suggested it. She said it was a beautiful name, and I thought it would be one less thing for you to worry about. I was trying to help. He had taken the most intimate, sacred decision a couple can make and handed it over to his mother. He had branded my daughter with the name of the woman he was supposed to have left behind, all while I was lying unconscious, fighting for my life. The ultimate confirmation of the betrayal arrived later that afternoon in the form of Dolores herself. She swept into the room, not with concern for my recovery, but with the triumphant air of a conquering general. She completely ignored me, heading straight for the bassinet. Oh, there she is, she cooed, scooping the baby into her arms without asking. Hello, my little Clara. Oh, what a perfect name for a perfect girl. It just suits you, doesn't it? She turned to me then, a smug, self-satisfied smile playing on her lips. It was the smile of someone who had won. You just focus on getting better, dear, she said, her tone condescendingly sweet. Thank goodness I was here to handle things. Mateo was in such a state, he wouldn't have known what to do without his mother. Her words were a masterclass in manipulation. In one breath, she claimed credit, infantilized her own son, and completely erased me from the equation. I was just the incubator. The vessel. She was the one making the real decisions. I lay there, silent, the 4 in my hand feeling less like a source of healing and more like a chain. But beneath the pain and the exhaustion, something else was beginning to stir. A cold, hard flame of rage. That night, alone in the sterile silence of the hospital room, the full weight of what they had done crashed down on me. This wasn't just about a name. It was a declaration. It was Dolores staking her claim on my child, and Mateo letting her. I felt utterly alone, isolated in my own postpartum body. I finally broke down and called my sister, Neria. Through choked sobs, I told her everything. Her response wasn't pitying, it was furious. Are you kidding me? She seethed through the phone. No, Alara. You are not overreacting. They betrayed you at your most vulnerable. This is not okay. You have to fight back. This is your daughter. Her words were like a splash of ice water. She was right. The tears stopped. The helplessness that had been drowning me receded, replaced by a chilling clarity. This was not a negotiation. This was a rescue mission. When Nurse Vega came in to check my vitals, I looked her straight in the eye. My voice was steady, devoid of the tremor it held just hours before. There was an error on the initial paperwork for my daughter's birth certificate, I said calmly. I wasn't of sound mind when it was signed, due to the medication and the surgery. Is it too late to make a correction before it's officially filed with the state? Nurse Vega looked at me for a long moment, her expression unreadable. I saw a flicker of understanding, of solidarity, in her eyes. She had seen this movie before. Let me see what I can do, she said softly, and left the room. she returned 20 minutes later with a fresh set of forms and a pen. "You have until morning to submit any changes," she said, placing them on my bedside table with a discreet nod. My hands were still weak, but my resolve was iron. I sat up, wincing from the pain of my incision, and pulled the clipboard onto my lap. With a deliberate, satisfying stroke, I drew a line through the name, Clara. In the space provided, I wrote the name that my husband and I had once chosen together, in a life that now felt a world away. I wrote Alba. Then I got to the section for the father's information. I stared at Matteo's name, already pre-filled from the initial form. This was the man who had held my hand and promised to be my partner, my protector. This was the man who had let his mother brand our child with the ghost of his past. He hadn't been a partner. He hadn't been a father. He had been a son. His mother's son. I took a deep, shuddering breath and checked the box next to the words, "Father not listed." I signed my name at the bottom, the sole legal parent of Alba. A profound, unexpected wave of peace washed over me. It wasn't an act of anger. It was an act of liberation. The day I was discharged was tense. Matteo was quiet, overly helpful, as if trying to atone for his mistake with good behavior. The storm broke 2 days later. He must have received the official, corrected copy of the birth certificate in the mail. I was feeding Alba when he stormed into the living room, his face purple with rage, waving a piece of paper in his hand. "What the hell is this, Elara?" he yelled, his voice cracking. "What did you do?" "I fixed your mistake," I said, my voice as calm as his was hysterical. "I didn't look up from our daughter." "You fixed it. You went behind my back and took my name off. You made me a legal nobody to my own child. You're trying to humiliate me." Finally, I looked at him. The man I loved was gone, replaced by a petulant boy furious that his power had been taken away. "You humiliated me," I said, my voice dangerously low. "You and your mother took my voice when I didn't have one. You took my choice. You took my daughter's name. This isn't about you, Matteo. This is about me taking back what is mine. Her name is Alba. And legally, you are exactly what you chose to be in that hospital room, a bystander." The fallout was immediate. His aunt, Leia, called me, sobbing about how I was a cruel, vindictive woman tearing the family apart. I hung up. Dolores left a 3-minute voicemail that was nothing but a stream of vitriolic insults, calling me unstable and an unfit mother. I listened to the whole thing, then calmly blocked her number. I blocked them all. The silence that followed was bliss. Matteo's final stand was pathetic. He gave me an ultimatum: either I go back to the courthouse and fix this mess, or he was leaving. "The door is over there," I said, rocking Alba gently. He stood there for a moment, stunned, clearly expecting me to beg. When I didn't, he packed a bag and went, predictably, straight to his mother's house. The weeks that followed were hard, but peaceful. It was just me and my baby, finding our rhythm. Then, one evening, I got a Facebook message from a name I never expected to see, Clara. My first instinct was to delete it, but curiosity won. Her message was long, and heartfelt. She said Dolores had found her on social media and had been messaging her, bragging about how her new granddaughter was named in her honor. Clara was horrified. "I am so incredibly sorry," she wrote. "What she and Matteo did to you is monstrous. I wanted you to know I have nothing to do with this, and I have told her to never contact me again. You are incredibly strong. Don't let them win." Reading her words, I felt a strange sense of validation. The one person they had used as a weapon against me had just become my most unexpected ally. It was the final piece of confirmation I needed. I had done the right thing. That message was the catalyst for everything that came next. I took the $50,000 I had secretly saved from my freelance graphic design work, my Run for the Hills fund, and hired the best divorce attorney in the city. That was 6 months ago. Today, Alba and I have a quiet, happy life. The divorce is final. After being confronted with Clara's messages, Matteo finally had a breakdown and realized the toxic extent of his mother's control. He has cut Dolores out of his life and has been in intensive therapy. He is now formally petitioning the court for parental rights. The power has completely shifted. I am no longer the woman lying helpless in a hospital bed. I am the gatekeeper to his daughter. I set the terms. I decide what is best for Alba. He says he's changing, that he'll do anything to be a father to our daughter. But the scar from that betrayal, inflicted when I was at my weakest, runs deep. So I ask you, am I wrong for keeping him at arm's length, for forcing him to prove every word with action before I ever fully trust him again?